In an ideal world, foundations would fund movement like we mean it.
What is the minimal that you need in terms of information in order to move the resources in the right direction and make the grants? Because the time that we take from field leaders to do paperwork and all that stuff to communicate with us as funders, that's time that we're robbing from the field.
We try to show our grantees we care by valuing their time and by not trying to take a bunch of their time. We don't ask for written reports, we'll do a phone call because the phone call is a chance to build a relationship. The written report is like a time suck of 10 hours. We have found that those types of practices allow us, to the extent that we have a role in the ecosystem, add care, add the sustainability in.
We have a practice within our team that when organizations reach out to us to inquire about funding, my standard is that we actually should reply to every organization that reaches out to us, even if we can't fund them, and give them ideas about other funders they could contact or other organizations they could partner with.
I mean, so much of this has to do with trust. It has to do with the valuing of relationship over short-term outcomes, the ability to be able to navigate conflict, because there is going to be conflict when you're talking about power, when you're talking about money, when you're talking about resources.
Our intention was to try to interrupt the normally adversarial relationship, right? Where you're sitting across the table from each other, like, the loan officer and the supplicant, right? And instead try to say, no, let's actually put the money on the table to demonstrate that we are trustworthy, that we can be partners. And then let's begin a conversation and a relationship.
You really have got to be able to listen. If your first thought is, well, I've been in meetings where this kind of thing happens. Someone is trying to explain to you what their strategy is, how they're going to take on very challenging issues. And your first response is to jump in and say, you can't, how are you going to do that? That's too hard. It just doesn't, immediately, that means you're not really listening to what they're saying. So first step is to listen.
A lot of times in philanthropy, we have looked for the entrepreneurial model, right? Like the great person who is the one, and if we just fund the heck out of them, they can replicate the programs everywhere in the country. Instead, it's really looking for how to support leaders in so many different ways, not expecting them to be messiahs, not saying to them, it's a marathon, but saying it's a relay. There's going to be times when you got to put the burden down and somebody else will pick it up because you are part of a network.
How can we help make leaders feel cared for, have a support network so they don't feel so lonely? We measure our impact by the connections that are made, the strengths of relationships within the fellowship network, and ongoing engagement, and people's health. Are folks feeling cared for and healthy and like they can sustain this work?